We are here at the Armies Games booth with Roberto Di Maio, one of the designers, of Battle of Five Armies, and he's going to give us a quick overview of the game and how a turn works.
Yes, okay, hello. And Battle of Five Armies is the first standalone game in the War of the Ring line after War of the Ring itself, of course. It's a new game, it's based on the battle at the end of the Hobbit, and it's meant to be both a faithful recreation of the battle in the books, but also, just like it happens with War of the Ring, with a lot of what-ifs and different possibilities within the scope of the narrative, however. So we try to remain as faithful as we can to the books, considering the necessity of making a game so that the battle can never be played the same way twice. The game uses the same engine as War of the Ring in terms that it has an action dice system and also a set of event cards which are also used to influence both the actions and the combat. There are other similarities, but essentially the game engine is the same. The departure from War of the Ring is that in these games there is a much higher focus on the characters. So characters, the choices rotating around the characters are very important. All characters have specific abilities which they can use to influence the battle. And the other focus is on the combat and tactical effects of terrain and unit abilities on combat. Also another feature which is missing in War of the Ring, because in War of the Ring, to make the strategic game flow well, we wanted to make the combat to be as streamlined as possible. Here, as we are zooming in an individual battle, we thought it was a good thing to have a good level of detail in combat, and so this is mostly recreated through the use of the combat cards associated with each unit, where for each unit it's indicated the combat strength of that unit, the favored terrains, and the special abilities. So this means that the terrain you fight the battle on will have an influence on the battle, because if you are fighting a battle on your favorite terrain, that player will draw one bonus event card, so will immediately have access to one special modification for the battle. And also the important thing is that you create your hand of cards at the beginning of the battle by adding all the unit cards that you have for the units in the battle, plus the regroup card, plus any of your event card. So this creates a portfolio of special effects that you can activate during the battle, but that are related to the units that you have. Okay, so this is another important difference from War of the Ring. The other very important mechanic which is unique to this game is the fate track. The fate track essentially is a timer for the game, but it's not a timer which flows in a constant way. It's a timer which flows in a non-deterministic way based on the draw of the fate tiles. The draw of fate tiles is influenced by the choice that the Free People's player makes at the beginning of every turn. At the beginning of every turn, the Free People player must decide how many of his generals he wants to activate. He will get bonus actions, special actions, which are associated to each of the characters that he can use, but at a price, because the more generals he activates, the more redraws that the shadow player will have of the fate tiles. For the Free People player, it is good that fate flows fast, because the sooner he gets to 15, the better, because if the shadow player wins 10 victory points before the fate marker reaches 15, then he wins the game. Otherwise, if the free people player, the fate marker reaches 15, the free people player wins the game. Okay, so the fate marker essentially determines the victory or loss in the basic victory condition of the battle. There are also other victory conditions, but we'll speak about them later. The other effect of the fate marker is that the most powerful allies for the free people, the Thorin, the Eagles, Bjorn, will also enter the game based on the arrival on the fate counter on certain steps. So it becomes very important for the fate to flow slower, like this, one step a turn, but can play much faster, up to 3 steps every turn.
Okay.
And this draw is influenced by the choice that the free people player made at the beginning of a turn with the generals. As I said, the main victory condition is based on the shadow player conquering specific locations on the battlefield, the fortifications which are marked with triangle, like Eastern Spur, the front gate, Ravenhill. Those locations are worth 4 victory points, while normal locations like lower slopes, ruins of the Dale, camp, Fallen Bridge, they are only worth 2 victory points. So the shadow player can win in several different ways. For example, conquering the Eastern Spur, front gate, and camp is already enough to win the game. So you see that there are essentially different victory conditions within the game. So you can focus the battle on assault to the north, assault to the southern part of the board. The free people player also wins the game if Bolg is killed.
Okay.
Bolg is a very powerful character because he has not just a great capability of leadership with 3 leadership points, but also thanks to his bodyguards he can withstand a huge amount of damage inflicted to his army. So he's an army led by Bolg is really very, very powerful, but the problem is if Bolg is killed, the shadow player will immediately lose the game.
Okay.
So it's just like the story when Beorn kills Bolg, the shadow army immediately loses. So
Okay.
So
it's a little bit of a game of attrition on the part of the free peoples trying to just withstand the onslaught of the shadow.
Yes. Essentially, for the free people player, it's very important to gain time to slow down the advance of the shadow and to hold on until the allies arrive, especially Beorn, which can have a very powerful impact on the battle. A lot of different elements have been also added to the game to recreate the important parts of the story. So we have the Great Eagles and the special functioning in the game for the Great Eagles. We have the bats. We have the special characters like Beorn and Bolg. We have the goblins, which are amassing across the mountain trying to cross the mountain to attack the free people from beyond. So a lot of different elements which appear in the story are also featured and recreated in the game.
Now, I did notice that the shadow player there has an eyeball on one of his action die. What is the eye used for in this particular game?
Yes, okay. For us it was a design choice to keep the dice the same as in War of the Ring, but we have to modify the meaning of some of the dice to fit the battle. In this game, the eye dice is actually the die which is related to the goblins. So it's the die which is used to master goblins in their mountain pass boxes, and is also the die which is linked to the movement of the goblins. So instead of saying it doesn't have the Sauron eye, meaning that it has in War of the Ring, but essentially is the goblin die.
Gotcha.
Most of the other action dice have meanings which are similar, but with changes due to the more tactical nature of the game. So, for example, the master result here is not just used to bring new troops in the game, but is also used to do a rally action on an army.
Okay.
Because armies here can accumulate a certain number of damage points and carry on these damage points from one turn to another, but if you use a rally action, you can actually have those damage points to be removed. So, for example, this is just an example. Or say the character dies not just allows you to move an army with characters, but also allows you to do a fast move, a forced march action where you can move one army with characters twice, for example. So there are small changes in the meaning of the action dice to suit the battle.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Roberto. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.